All right, so as promised, I just got done wrapping up Oregon player interviews, talked to Dillon Gabriel, talked to Jeffrey Bossa, talked to Terrence Ferguson. Gabriel was a hotter commodity amongst media people, so it wasn't as easy to get consistent questions there. So I was actually able to get more of a long form sequence with both Bossa and T-Ferg. So what I'm going to do is talk about the audio that I got from Dillon Gabriel here today, which I'll play for you here on the show, and then on Monday's episode talk about the interviews that I got with both T-Ferg and Bossa, because they were several minutes long. I thought both guys gave really good answers. One general takeaway from talking to these guys, and I've found this a lot. The first student athletes that I ever interviewed were Oregon basketball players and Wisconsin basketball players ahead of the first round matchup in the NCAA tournament back in 2019. Peyton Pritchard was among that group, Luke King, Kenny Wooten, there were all sorts of guys, and the Wisconsin guys were great as well. But one thing that I definitely took away talking to these guys, and I just continue to feel every time I get a chance to talk to these players, I love their mentalities that they go into these situations with. These are not kids that are arrogant. These are not kids that are pompous. They are so grateful, I think, and humble and appreciative of the opportunity that they have. There is a joy that they have talking about football and the way they can build a championship caliber team with Oregon this year, and I just love that. I love that and wanted to share, because I just see that not just with Oregon players but with all sorts of other players as well. They like getting asked questions and talking about their team and their careers and whatnot. And certainly some guys like questions more than others, but I think they're all very appreciative of the spot that they are in, the opportunity that they have and that they have worked for, and they certainly know that they didn't get there by accident. They worked really hard for it. But I just continue to be impressed by these guys. I don't know if I had that level of maturity at 21, 22. Okay, hopefully by the time I was 23 I did, because I was out of college and I was working a radio, TV, play-by-play, and sports talk gig in Oklahoma. So hopefully I had some level of maturity for all that sort of stuff by the time I was out of college. But I just think they're really impressive guys. So a bunch of you sent in questions, a lot of them in the same sort of vein about about Dillon Gabriel and what you wanted to hear and such. And the first thing was about him coming to Oregon.
I'd say just the different version of myself. I think when I look back, at UCF, I was a young, learning pup, and then Oklahoma, I kind of came into my own, and then here at Oregon, they're really getting the best version of me in terms of how I play the game. So I think more so on my end, the growth and the evolution of my game has definitely been kind of the change throughout this journey.
This has been one of the questions that pops up a lot here on the show, is what version of Dillon Gabriel are we going to get? Is it going to be a carbon copy statistically and play style from a season ago? Joel Klatt was on Colin Cowherd's show recently, said he feels that Gabriel can be an even better version, which I agree with. I don't think there's going to be as big of a gap between his performance at his prior school and his performance at Oregon as there was with Bo Nix, but that's because Bo Nix had a lower level of production at Auburn than did Dillon Gabriel. But he feels like Oklahoma's system wasn't perfect and it wasn't as point guard oriented. And Gabriel is definitely taller in person than he looks next to Achilles Smith Jr. I assume we've all seen that photo by now, but I think that the point guard role does suit him very well. I think he'll have a career best year for completion percentage. I expect him to be over 70%. He was just under 70% a year ago. He hasn't had a 4,000-yard season, or at least he didn't well at Oklahoma. I don't think he did at UCF either. I'd expect him to be over that number with the receiving core that he has, and certainly the more games that he's going to play. He was 3,600 yards a season ago, and I think Oregon will play at least 13 games. I hope 14 will be the minimum. That would be a Big Ten championship appearance and at least one college football playoff game. That's where I expect Oregon to get to this season. But I think his focus on being the best version of himself was, something that I didn't really expect for him to answer when asked about, his journey and getting to Oregon and everything. So I definitely liked that quote from Gabriel. He was also asked about the helmet communications, and several of you wanted to know what he thought about that. I'll let the man speak for himself.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons. I think I heard Aaron Rodgers say sometimes it's a little too much. He wish he could mute it, but I also believe that it's just another way for good communication and allowing it to be a advantage to how you use it. But I think as the game evolves, the more it's like the NFL, the less change it is when you go from college to the NFL. So the more we can make it, an even playing field or more, normal and less disparity between the two, I think it can only help.
I think him with Will Stein, which is something else that Klatt was praiseworthy of on Coward's show, is going to be a really, really good fit. Obviously he's a little bit shorter than Bo Nix, might not have quite the arm, but certainly has an above average arm and is a supremely accurate thrower of the football. And I think a guy like that who's so veteran and has the chance, like Bo Nix, to be such a cerebral quarterback in this offense, I think it helps him because he can embrace that role, I think, even more. Bo did such a great job a season ago, and I think this just makes it easier for Dillon Gabriel to be at that sort of level to where he can make adjustments quickly. Will Stein's an offensive coordinator who's typically down on the sideline, I think is where he usually was a season ago. But, Kenny Dillingham was someone who liked to be up in the booth a little bit more. I think that ability for those two guys to be able to get together after a play and say, hey, look, you saw this, and just point it all out on an iPad. He's a really veteran quarterback. When he throws an interception, he probably knows what happened there. But I think that sort of communication is really, really helpful for any kind of quarterback. More helpful for a young quarterback, probably, because he doesn't have as much experience. But does it still allow Dillon Gabriel to be even more of that kind of point guard surveyor and just commander of the offense? Yeah, I absolutely think it does. So love getting to talk to those guys. Almost forgot, because I know a couple of you asked about this. Dillon Gabriel was asked about whether he'd played the new college football video game yet, which he has. And, well, here's what he had to say about his player rating.
I'm grateful for it. Of course, we got to talk about the speed, strength, and jump. But, I know I'm not this physical specimen, but shoot, there's some love for, some other guys as well.
Look, he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, but dang, he might be the most accurate quarterback in the Big Ten at the very least. I don't know that there's going to be a guy that completes a higher percentage of his passes than him this year, but I love the kind of humor that he approached that with, of like, oh man, I gotta be a little bit more than that. I'm too fast, I'm too slow. But you know what? It's not about the size of the dog in the fight. It's about the size of the fight in the dog. I think that guy's got a heck of a lot of fight in him. Stick around for Monday's show, because I'll air both interviews with Jeffrey Bossa and Terrence Ferguson that I got here at Media Days. That's going to do it for me here this week. Hope you all have enjoyed the content. There will be more coming from this particular spot, but I will be uploading said episodes from back in the great state of Oregon. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.